Welcome to Board Game Archaeology, where we play time-worn games from the past. I'm Hunter.
I'm Rob.
And today we're playing Gremlins.
Gremlins, from the 1984 classic, directed by Joe Dante, special effects by Chris Wallace. Gremlins. What a great game. This is for 6 to 12-year-olds, but maybe even higher up, I would say, than that, and really made for 2 to 4 players.
The goal of the game is to be the first person to have alerted all 5 major locations here. Mrs. Deagle's house, the school, the police station, the bank, and the department store.
Yep, and the game comes with a nice board. It's got Stripe, and it's got Gizmo on it, and it's got the locations you need. Plus, it's got the movie theater and Billy's house, and that's part of the rules we'll get to in a second. It's a spinner game. We have 1, 2, and 3, and then we have food, water, and light as a little one smidgen of the pie, and we have the cards. And one thing I really like about this game is it comes with blank cards. So a lot of the times I'm making cards to fill slots. They actually give me one to start with, which I thought was really, really nice. It also comes with 4 backpacks, and unfortunately, this game came with none of the backpacks. But they do show a picture of the backpack in here, and I kind of got the physics of it. I knew that they had to have 3 pieces of paper slide one way or another to change it to Stripe or Gizmo, and we'll show that to you in a second.
Yeah, how you get started is one person rolls, the next person does, highest one goes first, and then from there it goes clockwise. And so essentially, the way that this game starts out is that your backpacks all start in a blank, unnamed space. When you roll, you rather get a number, so 1, 2, or 3, and that means that you can move any one of these backpacks. They don't belong to any one person. So if this one's here, it's just as likely to be used by anyone. And so if it's a number, you move it around, and then when you look inside of the backpack, if it's Gizmo, then you get to discard the card, meaning that you've kind of alerted them. Or if you get Stripe, then you end up having to be sent to the movie theater, and you don't get to discard your card.
So before we go any further, let's go to a close-up and show you the physics of what we're talking about with the backpacks, because that's a big part of it. And when the game came with no backpacks, we really had to try to figure that out, but we found it was easier than that. All right, so this is one of the backpacks. So these all had to be 3D made in Tinkercad, and you can see that they just fit together, and they have a rubber band around it, and that's exactly what the originals had too. And so what we did was we made a backpack, and it's got, like I said, 3 pieces of paper, and it's got a short one, and it's got the Gizmo Stripe bottom pieces, and then Gizmo Stripe big pieces. So when you put them in together, if you have it one direction, you've got Gizmo. If you go the other direction, you'll see it slide over to Stripe. And that's exactly how the backpack's going. And a big part of the game is flipping these upside down to see who you're going to get and remember who you're going to get.
Yeah, and with that whole flipping comes the other 3 sections of the spinner. You got food, where you get to take one backpack, look inside of it, determine whether you want to flip it or not, and return it to Billy's house. Or you'll get water, and water makes you flip every backpack once. And light will make it so you have to choose one of these backpacks to just get sent back to the movie theater.
Without looking in it, so it's just randomly pick it. But it's not random. It's kind of like concentration in a weird way, that if you can remember, and believe me, it gets difficult when all 4 things are moving and you're spinning things, but there's a while that you do follow suit and you go, okay, I know that's Gizmo, I know that's Gizmo, and then you'll do water 3 times and you won't remember anymore anyway, so it'll go. But you can follow it if people don't mess with it. It is possible, for sure. The game's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, because really, it's one of those things where since everyone controls every backpack, when you move closer to things, because near the end, what really starts to become difficult is getting to the bank and the police station, because whenever something bad happens, say it's like water or like, not water, but like light will end up happening and people keep returning to the movie theater. If you get to a destination and you don't have Gizmo and you have Stripe, it's back to the movie theater. So people are being sent back there pretty regularly. And so those two locations in particular are in everyone's hand. And so,
Yeah, the bank and the police station are the hard ones to get. They're at the end of the board, and you really do end up going back a lot because you get striped quite a bit. I mean, it's 50-50 really, but most people will flip it over not thinking that you should just leave them gizmos and hope for the best. You know, one thing that I'd like to say too about the artwork, the art's really good, but they kind of got lazy on the artwork. They have puzzles that came out too, and if you look at the puzzles, they're exactly the same artwork that's on the cover and on the box art. They just flipped a gizmo, I think, and that's it. So it would have been nicer to have some more artwork going for it, but still, it's a nice setup.
yeah, it is a nice setup for a simple game because that's really all it is when everyone takes their turn, the first thing you do is you pick one of the backpacks to flip over, you do your spin, you deal with the consequences of whether you land on a space where you have to check for gizmo or not, or it just goes on to the next player until somebody gets rid of all 5 of their cards, the first person to sort of alert the town, like they're all on telephone with each other, making sure it's like this one consistent person. But yeah, that's how you win.
Yeah, and Mrs. Deagle didn't make it, so I don't know who's yelling in that place. But yeah, it's a fairly simple game, except it is kind of hard to win. It's one of those games where either you're going to win in 10 minutes or you're going to win in 2 hours. But the one good thing is once you get rid of a card, you get rid of a card. It's not like you get a card back, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it does make it so it's kind of bittersweet sometimes. When you roll a 3, you're able to get kind of in that range of the bank or like the police station, and then someone else ends up getting it. But it is something that we don't see too often in the games, and it is kind of a mechanic that I enjoy because sometimes when people are moved forward, you know, whether it's by an opponent or you, it's kind of a shared good feeling, and I feel like that really kind of like bolsters a camaraderie between people.
Yeah, and I think when games take longer, that camaraderie becomes stronger because you just want somebody to win to move forward. I mean, we've seen it over and over in games where we're almost cheering for the win because it's just taking forever to play. Some of these games, like the my little kittens one, we were happy somebody was going to win. We didn't care who was going to win because the game was going to take forever because we kept going back to start. And this was kind of the same way where you keep going back to the movie theater. And then by the time somebody got close, we're like cheering for them, hoping for the best.
Put us out of our misery.
Please.
But yeah, no, in general though, I had a good time with it. It's one of those things where I'm sure that repeat plays, those kind of things would wear on you over time. But all in all, I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. It was a movie that I loved. It was a lot more violent than 6 to 12-year-olds, but we know how toys are sold to kids anyway with like Terminator and Aliens. They were all R-rated films, but they all made good toys and action figures. So, yeah, it's a good game. It could have had a lot more Gremlin actual art. It has a lot of good city scenes. Almost like a puzzle, really. It could have been a puzzle. But it works. You know, it's got something different. It's not just a spinner or cards or a dice. It's got things happening in the middle that you have to think of too.
And it is funny just the way that, like, all of the mechanics don't really play into the movie well at all. It's kind of like the game was designed, and then they were like, well, we should attach an intellectual property to it.
Right. They probably had the game idea and then said, hey, we got this Gremlins idea. We got to kick it out in 2 weeks.
Someone created it first and then came up with what if we make it Gremlins themed?
Right, because honestly, you could take any of these cards, and they're so generically police station. Mrs. Dingle's house is just a house. It could be anything.
But thanks for watching.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about us, check us out at toyarchaeology.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Toy Archaeology, and I'll put that up on the screen so you can see that. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and tell your friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.